Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I get to share with you the Amazing Paper Grace Die of the Month Club for November 2018. This is it, and it is so pretty. If you like layering and elegance, this die is beautiful for that. Again, it's the Amazing Paper Grace Die Club, and I'll leave links down below in case you are interested and want to check it out. But it's a 14-piece set, and it's called the Christmas Village Vignette. And it creates beautiful, if you don't like 3D, you can do non-3D projects, but my card today, I'm going to be creating a super 3D one. So it'd be a great element for decorating your house for Christmas or even gift giving. So this is it. This is your frame. Now the frame is larger than an A2 size base. It is actually 4.5 inches by 5. So you'll need to make a custom envelope for it. It comes with a fancy frame and then a couple of snowbanks. It comes with a window frame, and then it also comes with the sentiment. And they all layer together beautifully to create projects. And it's kind of endless in what you could do with each one of these little elements. Now to decorate those snowbanks, to create a real cute little scene, you get a house in the church, you get a Santa and sleigh, and the little reindeers. You get a little picket fence, you get a little tree, you get a holly berry. There's also a Christmas tree, and then there's a little smaller one too. So this is your 14-piece set. We're going to jump in and make a real pretty project. Now I'm starting off with some white cardstock, and I'm going to place my background frame on my white cardstock. And then using my fancy frame as a die, I'll place that on the inside. Did I say as a die? My fancy frame as a guide. Now I'm going to layer each one of my snowbanks in there, and then also my Christmas greeting die here. I'll just tape it down one at a time, remove my fancy frame, and run that through my die cut machine. This way I have a snowbank window on my panel here. And there's a slit in each one of those snowbanks for you to tuck your little elements in there for scene building. I'm going to do the same thing, this time using the lower snowbank and also the Christmas greeting sentiment. You just kind of line them up, and they line up beautifully. Here's my Christmas greetings, here's my lower snowbank, and then here's my taller snowbank. Now these actually layer together and create a beautiful scene, and I love that. It's done for you. And I created 3. If you just wanted to do 1, you could do that also. But my card today is going to be full of dimension. Now next, I'm going to take the fancy frame here, and I'm going to die cut that out with white cardstock. I'm not going to use the outline border, so it's just going to cut out a frame inside my white panel. This is where the two-in-one comes in really handy because it punches out all those little pieces on your die and then also on your cardstock. But these dies do cut, emboss, deboss, and stencil, and so I thought we'd use this as a stencil. So I'll place that on another piece of white cardstock, and we'll tape that down using some painter's tape. I thought it'd be fun to add a glittery background. Now you could completely skip this step if you have glitter cardstock, but I thought that I would use some glimmer paste today. This is Moonstone. It's a beautiful goldish iridescent glimmer paste. I'll use my spatula and just spread that all over my stencil here, filling in all those little open areas and making sure it's nice and even coverage. Now if you do this, you could actually use this top piece and cut out a frame with this as well, but for today I'm just going to use the center of the top piece as my snowy background. I thought it'd create a real pretty glittery snowy background, and then I'll use the bottom panel, of course. Just making sure this is all spread out nice and even. I think when it's evenly spread out, it dries quicker also. Okay, we'll just remove our tape here, and we have 2 areas. We have the bottom portion that we're going to cut out a frame with, and that top portion here that will create a real pretty snowy background. So here we go. So pretty. We'll set these aside to dry, and then while those are drying, we can cut out some elements. So I'm using some scrap pieces of paper here. I'm going to cut out the little house and then the little church. Also, the Christmas tree, the large and the small one. We'll cut out 2 of the Christmas trees, and then we'll also use the little holly berry die and cut out 5 of the holly berries. And these little church doors open. I thought that was so cute. Okay, now to color in my little elements, we're going to use some Distress Oxide inks. This is Twisted Citron, and I'm just using my blending tool to go over all of my elements. The little holly berries have the little berries that are embossed in the center, and I'm going to go over them with my green ink only because I'm going to fill in my little holly berries with some pearls later on. So I wasn't concerned about leaving that white. Now to give my elements some dimension, I'm going to go in with another green. This is Forest Moss, and I'm just doing a little bit of shading with it to give my elements some two-tone look. And I also think when you do this, it gives it a little bit of a vintage look. Okay, for my little house, we are going to use some spun sugar. I'm going to go over my little house, and I thought it was a little too light. So I'm going to take my blending tool that has seedless preserves on it. The ink is still on there, so I'm just going to go around the edges and giving that a little bit of shading. For my church, we're going to use some spiced marmalade. Okay, now I also want to color in my sentiment. Here, I'm going to give you a close-up of what they look like. They're so pretty. I've been in a pastel kind of a Christmas mood this year, so you'll see a lot of pastels on my projects. Okay, we're going to color in our Christmas greetings, and I'm going to use some antique linen. I just wanted it to stand out a bit, and so I thought antique linen was really soft. And I'm just using a tiny blending tool to shade in my sentiment. This helps me just shade the sentiment and not my frame that's around it. I think it's called a detail blending tool, and it works great. And then I'll grab my Twisted Citron once more and fill in those little holly leaves on the bottom. And like I said, this was going to make my sentiment stand out. My card's going to be predominantly white, so the sentiment, I wanted it to really stand out. I'm going to get a piece of white cardstock to show you what it looks like, so you can see how it pops. Okay, that's done. Now, since my house had windows and the little church did too, I thought we'd create a background with some squeezed lemonade. So I just shaded a piece of white cardstock. I'm going to trim it down, and then I'll glue it behind my house as if my little house windows are glowing. And then I'll do the same thing to my little church window. Just little details, I think, add a lot. Okay, once my little church is done, I thought we'd add some snow to each one of our elements, and so I'll use that same silver, that glimmer moon dust. I call it moon dust, but it's actually moonstone. And I'm just adding some of this paste on the rooftops of my church and on my house, and then on the edges, just on my trees, just on one side, to give them a little bit of shimmer and as if it was snow. It was kind of glistening on there. I'm going to do that to all the trees and all the holly berries. And you can see here how sparkly that is, and the gold really pops against those colors. Okay, we'll set those aside. Those need to dry. While they're drying, we are going to work on our our background. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to take my background frame or my background die, and then this time I'm going to actually tape down my decorative frame on the inside, and then using the window piece, I'm going to die cut all three out at one time. So this way I have a beautiful frame. Now by this time I think my glimmer paste should be dry, and I did trim down a card base, a custom card base that measures 4 3/4 inches by 5 1/4. Now my frame here is going to fit right on top of my moonstone glimmer paste. So, and I said before, if you had glitter cardstock, you could do the same. But I thought it would just layer right in there beautifully without adding any extra dimension. But I'm going to cut out my glimmer paper here, creating a frame. And then this way I can take some glue and glue down my decorative frame right on top. And then all the elements that I stenciled will fit right inside the home of the frame that I had cut out. And it will keep it one layer. So I'll have some glitter peeking out of there, and I think that looks so elegant and so pretty. But I love the legs on this frame. If you wanted to do 4 of them and create a box, I think it'd be fantastic. Okay, that's all set, and it fits in there beautifully. I'm going to take some foam tape. Now the foam tape that I'm using is super thin, and I would say it's half the size of 3M foam tape. So it's going to give me dimension, but not as much dimension. And I did this because I'm going to actually layer 4 layers together. And if I used the 3M foam tape, it would probably end up being about 1 inch. My card would be about 1 inch thick. So this way it's only like a 1/2 inch thick. Okay, these are all my snowbanks here, my greetings. My little scene building elements are all dried. Now I get to layer them together. So starting off with my house, I was going to put the house on the lower snowbank and then change my mind. And they just tuck right in there in those slits. I'm going to put it on the higher snowbank since it's a shorter house. I thought it would fit there better. But we'll just tuck that in there and glue it down. I'm also going to take one of the Christmas trees and place it right next to my little house. Add a little bit of greenery. And then for my lower snowbank, we'll add the little church. And then we'll add both the Christmas trees to the lower snowbank here. But I think that's so neat how you can layer everything together. Now if you want to just create a card with the Christmas greetings, I think that would be fantastic too. If you want to do one snowbank and then stamp a sentiment down below, that would be fantastic too. But we're going to layer it up today. Something different, but it really turned out elegant and shimmery, and I liked it. Okay, so these panels are all done. I'm going to show you how they look when you layer them together. So the higher bank goes behind there, and then you add your sentiment right on top. So pretty. Okay, now we're going to grab our background. I already glued down the glitter paper into my card base. Now my card base is, like I said, it's custom, so it's 4 3/4 inches by 5 1/4. And I already popped up each one of my frames here with my thin foam tape. I placed my first panel down. I'll go ahead and add my second panel. Lovely. And you can stop here, add your sentiment and a real pretty ribbon, and I think that'd be gorgeous. But we're going to go ahead and do a third layer with our Christmas greetings panel here. Place that right on top. So pretty. And you can see the dimension that it's starting to build. Okay, next I did add foam tape behind my fancy frame that we used as a stencil I'm just going to remove the release paper off of here and place that right on top of our little scene. So now we have 4 layers, but again, this foam tape is not that thick, so it's not too bulky. But I think this would be so pretty sitting on a mantle. But we have some holly berries to decorate with, so I'm going to use some glue and place that in the bottom of my little scene, right below my sentiment. And I'm just gluing those down. Once we have those put down, we have a lot of sparkle. I think it's so pretty. Okay, we're going to decorate with some pearls. So I have some really small pearls. Now traditionally, I know the berries are supposed to be red, but I wanted to keep this card pretty soft, so I thought we'll add some white pearls. Some of the holly leaves I just added 1 pearl to, and then alternating I added 3 little pearls, creating a little cluster. And then I did add some pearls at the very top of my frame, just to add to the elegance. And that's my project for today, guys. If you're interested in the Amazing Paper Grace Die of the Month Club, links will be below for you. But this is a beautiful set and so versatile. Let me know what you think. I think it's just gorgeous. I wish you a fantastic day. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you again real soon.